I'm gonna get right to the point, folks. We've all done numerous diets, we've all lost weight, and we've struggled with getting that last 10 pounds of belly fat, love handle, that last little bit of goodness that just won't go away. So I'm gonna talk about some strategies in this video to help you finally make that stuff go away and stay away for good. All right, so the first thing we have to discuss is fat distribution and the factors that we can and cannot control in regards to that. Biggest one, of course, is genetics. Unfortunately, they are what they are, and some people just genetically distribute fat more evenly than others. Some people distribute fat kind of in clumps, if you will. And a lot of that has something to do with like limb length, torso length, things of that nature. But then the next thing that affects fat distribution is going to be hormones. Hormones and their interaction with lipoprotein lipase determine to a large extent how our fat distributes in such a way based on our hormonal phenotype to prevent us from accruing visceral fat and negatively impacting our overall health. This is why females, it's actually a good thing that you tend to accrue fat around the hips as opposed to the midsection, and it's correlative to the greater incidence of metabolic and cardiovascular related disease in the male population. Men and women, if you start to see a rapid accrual of body fat in the torso region, it may be an indicator that you're becoming insulin resistant, and it might be something that you want to address sooner rather than later before it becomes full-blown metabolic dysfunction. So speaking about doing something about it, let's get into training. There's a lot of debate in the fitness community as to which is better to burn fat, high intensity intervals or zone 2 steady state. Well, spoilers, the actual answer is both. The great thing about high intensity interval training is that it mobilizes a ton of fat, but then you don't do it for very long and it doesn't burn a lot of calories. Zone 2 conditioning burns a ton of calories, but not necessarily of the fat that you're trying to get off your body. What does the trick almost magically is either doing high intensity intervals followed by an extended zone 2, or what I prefer to do and do every day on the bike is an extended zone 2 with a bunch of sprints at the end. What a lot of studies have shown is that if you just do vigorous activity to mobilize fat into your bloodstream, but then you don't continue the activity in order to use it, it can simply just relocate and go back into fat cells somewhere else. So like for instance, you can mobilize fat in your arms and then not use that fat for energy, and then shortly thereafter, the fat goes back into your hips. And then of course, calorie restriction goes without saying, and I mean, let's be real folks, even doing this, the effects are marginal without the caloric deficit. So you need to do this in the state of a deficit. However, that marginally increased fat mobilization and fat utilization, workout after workout after workout after workout, after 6 weeks, 20 weeks, a year, 2 years, that's how you get all that extra like stubborn fat off. Just caloric restriction ain't gonna make that happen. This is one of the main reasons why I say, train with a purpose. Do your training to derive a specific training effect and not just move around to burn calories, because just moving around to burn calories isn't gonna get that last 10 stubborn pounds off, but training specifically to do so in the presence of a calorie deficit will. Okay, so now the rest of the video needs to be spent on that deficit, okay? We need to talk about the diet portion, because the implementation of the diet is key to getting those last 10 pounds off. The method is simple, the execution is what people find difficult, and that is time. You can diet super aggressively and have a massive deficit, and I promise you those last 10 pounds will do everything within the realms of heaven and earth to stay on your body. The more aggressively you diet, the more aggressively those anti-starvation mechanisms kick in. And one of those mechanisms is retaining those last couple pounds of stubborn fat. You gotta trick your body into letting them go by not making it so uncomfortable that it feels like in a state of nature, you're gonna risk starvation. It's for this reason that I use the call for fire method that you can see in my channel for long-term sustainable weight loss, losing at most 1% of total weight per week, although 0.5% is more feasible. And that's also why I employ a phasic approach where we overshoot our initial weight goal, then we back off a little bit, drop into maintenance, hold that pattern for a little while, and then shoot for a new lower weight goal. This gives the body time to adjust to a new body fat set point, a new normal, a new BMR, and so it stays, for lack of a better term, comfortable in the discomfort of losing weight, as opposed to what most people do, which is induce a starvation state as long as they can stand it. I hate to break it to you folks, but unless you use pharmaceuticals, you're not going to get rid of those stubborn body fat areas in a 6-week, 8-week, 12-week diet. That's the, in case of emergency, break open glass fat. So what I like to do to make this work is I set 10-week target points, because that gives us from 5 to 10% as values for easy math, as well as target weights in order to calculate our macros, specifically our protein and fat requirements, and target dates for the psychological component of the diet, because that's a thing as well. One thing that will for sure keep those last 10 pounds on your body is too much stress. Everyone deals with stress a little differently, but the one stress management tool I can tell you is essential in terms of losing those last 10 pounds is sleep. You gotta sleep, folks. All right, so let's review. First of all, you want to utilize a combination of steady state zone 2 training to burn the fat, as well as high intensity intervals to mobilize the fat, either intervals first and then zone 2 or vice versa. Next, time. You got to give it time, folks. 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. It's not enough time to lose that stubborn fat. A phasic approach to dieting, so drop down, back off, maintenance, drop down again. You gotta sleep to make sure that you manage stress on top of whatever other stress management techniques work for you. And so the Seco zealots don't come at me in the comments, calorie deficit. You gotta maintain a calorie deficit as well, folks. That's it, folks. That's how you get rid of the stubborn last 10 pounds of body fat. That's how you get rid of that lower belly fat, those love handles. That's how you do it. The X's and O's are relatively simple. The issue is actually executing them day after day for weeks and months at a time. The fat in those stubborn areas is an anti-starvation mechanism. So the key to losing those last 10 pounds of weight is to use all the tools at your disposal to keep your body comfortable in your discomfort. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you can, hop over to the YouTube channel. If you aren't watching it there already, give a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and hit me up down in the comments with any questions or recommendations for future videos. Consistency is a superpower. Stay in the fight. Thanks for watching.